The new kid on the block is here. We're talking about the Samsung Galaxy S5, and we're excited to bring you a comparison of Samsung's new big thing against the Nexus 5. Now, these two handsets are vastly different. On one hand, you have the Galaxy S5 with Samsung's vision of what Android should look like, with the colorful TouchWiz user interface, with the fingerprint scanner, with all those new features. On the other hand, you have the Nexus 5, which is Google's vision of what Android should look like, with its stock Android and with its lean and mean interface. So which one of the two is better and which one should you choose? Let's find out. The Galaxy S5 comes as a breath of fresh air for Samsung in terms of design. It's made out of plastic, but that plastic is styled in brand new looks with a unique dimpled soft touch back, and the whole package comes in a diversity of fresh colors right out the gate. The Nexus 5 on the other hand is also plastic, but with a more rubbery feel of its soft touch unibody. It does not lack color variety either, as it's available in white, black or red. Design is subjective matter, so we won't judge either of these handsets based on their outwards appearance, but what's not subjective is the clearly visible size difference between the two. The Nexus 5 is more compact than the Galaxy S5 in all aspects. It's narrow and shorter, easier to hold. The Galaxy S5 has traded compactness for one key new feature. It is now protected from the elements and can withstand being submerged in water up to 30 minutes in a depth of up to 3 feet. While the Galaxy S5 buttons are clicky and easy to press, the Nexus 5 takes button craftsmanship up a level with its ceramic physical keys. Lock key is on the right and volume rocker on the left, and they have this very nice premium feel and are easy to press with very nice travel, all little details that we've come to appreciate after using the phone for a while. However, the S5 also adds two new elements that are not found on the Nexus 5, a fingerprint scanner and a heart rate monitor. The fingerprint scanner can be used to securely unlock the phone, lock files with the new private mode, and even authorize payments via PayPal. It is a bit more fiddly than the iPhone 5s finger reader. It requires you to swipe from the bottom of the screen and through the home key, but after playing with it for a while you get used to it. The other new feature of the Galaxy S5 is its heart rate monitor. It's the first time we see such a scanner in a smartphone. It requires you to put your finger on it so that it can beam up infrared light and monitor the change in the resulting reflections to come up with a reading of your pulse. Our experience shows that it gets it right, but it requires some patience. You need to be silent and wait for a few seconds to get an accurate reading. The Samsung Galaxy S5 boasts a 5.1-inch display, slightly larger than the 5-inch screen of the Nexus 5. Both are high-res panels though, with a resolution of 1080 by 920 pixels. The similarities between the two displays, however, end here. The two use vastly different underlying technology. The Nexus 5 features an LCD display with a backlight to lighten it up, while the Galaxy S5 uses Samsung's Super AMOLED technology that instead relies on light emitted by the organic diodes of every single pixel to make up an image. In the Galaxy S5, Samsung has made notable progress on overcoming some of the limitations of AMOLED technology in a screen that is brighter and more power efficient. With the gains that the S5 makes in that, it's also much easier to use outdoors and goes on par with the Nexus 5 in this regard. In terms of colors though, the Galaxy S5 has not changed much from its predecessors. In the default standard viewing mode, it features inaccurate colors with affinity for greenish tones and hugely overblown colors. Color temperature reaches very cold levels, and the situation slightly improves if you switch over to professional photo mode, but overall colors are again a bit colder and a bit off. On the other hand, we're very happy with the display on the Nexus 5. Colors on it are very accurately calibrated, reaching closely that coveted sRGB color gamut coverage. Photographs will know what we're talking about here, and it's not about just the perfect screen, but it lacks a bit of punch and whites appear slightly yellowish, but those are rather minute details, especially in comparison with the Galaxy S5. Both the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the Nexus 5 come with the latest Android 4.4 KitKat on board, but the Galaxy S5 does not have it in its pure form like the Nexus. Instead, it uses the TouchWiz skin. In its newest iteration, we have to add, the newest Nature UX introduces larger icons and less clutter, making it look a bit like stock Android. Samsung's UI is also packed with apps and features, and some may double up on existing apps and others don't, like the file manager and weather widget, and we find that a nice addition. Core apps like the phone book and text messenger have also been redesigned in the latest TouchWiz to look more modern and flatter a bit, generally nicer. Samsung includes its own custom keyboard in the Galaxy S5, and it's also easy to type on, almost as easy as the Google keyboard on the Nexus 5. Buttons are well spaced and typing is fast and easy on both of them. One app that stock Android is missing right now is a health center like the S Health app or S Health Hub in the S5. Samsung has improved on this existing application, making it a more comprehensive health and fitness hub that stores your daily step, calories burned and heart rate measurements. Both the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the Nexus 5 come with very fast quad-core Snapdragon system chips that secure a smooth and enjoyable lag-free Android experience. The S5 has time on its side, and as the newer handset, it comes with a slightly faster Snapdragon 801 chip, while the Nexus 5 runs on Snapdragon 800. The difference between two comes mainly from the different clock speeds. Apart from that, both chips are manufactured on the same 28nm technology and are nearly identical in terms of architecture. Internal storage starts at 16 gigs on both the Galaxy S5 and the Nexus 5, and the Samsung phone, however, has the advantage of supporting expandable storage via microSD cards, while the Nexus 5 does not have that option. You can surf the web via the mobile Chrome browser, which comes preloaded on both devices, but Samsung actually opts for its own custom Android browser as the default solution in the S5. Both browsers get the job done in an efficient and fast manner and differ mainly in their interface. In terms of connectivity, both handsets feature 4G LTE with appropriate bands for different markets, but the S5 supports up to 150 megabits per second, megabits per second, while the Nexus 5 can handle as much as 100 Mbps. Additionally, connectivity options include dual-channel Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0, GPS and NFC. The S5 also has an infrared beamer that the Nexus 5 does not have. This allows you to use the handset as an infrared controller, remote control for TV and other electronics. The S5 features a brand new 16-megapixel ISOCELL camera by Samsung, with double the resolution of the 8-megapixel camera in the Nexus 5. Technically, the S5 comes with a nearly 30% bigger sensor as well. Moreover, Samsung is also using face detection pixels for extremely fast autofocusing on the S5. The camera app on Samsung's device retains the myriad of manual settings and shooting modes that Samsung is known for, but it's also been refashioned with a more user-friendly interface with easily accessible buttons. The actual images from the 16-megapixel S5 turn out rich in detail with vivid colors and great dynamics. We're happy with how well the S5 exposes photographs, and striving for the ideal, we'd just say that colors are a tad bit oversaturated, but not as much as to make images look unreal. The Nexus 5 has an 8-megapixel shooter that also shoots good images, but loses to the superior detail in pictures from the S5. And color representation is also not perfect on the Nexus 5, which often has a yellowish undertone to its photos. In terms of video, the S5 has added 4K video recording support, while the Nexus 5 can only record 1080p video. This higher pixel count shows finer detail and textures, which is nice if you have a 4K monitor. Video recording quality in an equal comparison of 1080p 30 frames per second footage shows that both devices record smooth, but colors on the Nexus 5 are a bit yellowish, whereas the Galaxy S5 recordings appear closer to reality. There is a slight oversaturation in the S5 videos, just as on the image stills, but again, it's not to the point that would make recordings look unreal. It's also important to note that the Nexus 5 features optical image stabilization, which gets rid of a lot of the jittery movements and handshake when you record video on the go. Samsung only uses electronic video stabilization, which cannot achieve such high level of stability. The S5 sports a 2-megapixel front-facing camera that does a very decent job with capturing selfies or in video chats, and the same unfortunately cannot be said about the Nexus 5. It only sports a 1.3-megapixel front shooter that captures images and videos with a rather disappointing quality. Current day smartphones with large 5-inch and larger displays are well suited for media consumption, and the S5 and Nexus 5 both fit that category nicely. You can play common video codecs with ease and no stutter. For music, the S5 and Nexus 5 both feature the Google Play Music application, but Samsung's device also has its own Samsung Music. Samsung's music player has gotten a visual refresh with a nice and new modern style, while essentially remaining the same in its function. And it's a good app. Neither the Galaxy S5 nor the Nexus 5, however, have stereo speakers. Nonetheless, the loudspeaker of the S5 is very loud and clear, and we're happy with it. The Nexus 5 is a bit quieter and not so clear, but we still think it's a decent speaker. Speaking about call quality in the Galaxy S5, we have to mention that on our end of the line voices are transmitted loud enough, but the sound itself is a bit muffled and lacks in quality. Our callers, on the other hand, reported hearing our voice loudly, but there was a slight hiss to the sound. The Nexus 5 yields comparable results with its own different advantages and disadvantages. The issue with Google's handset is that volume in the earpiece is lacking and you have to press the phone tightly against your ear to hear better. Moreover, voices have a bit of a flat tone, and overall both devices seem just above average. The Galaxy S5 sports a 2800 mAh battery, while the juicer on the Nexus 5 has a 2300 mAh capacity. Battery is often said to be a weak spot for the Nexus 5, as the device barely makes it through a workday and ranks towards the bottom of our battery rankings. The Galaxy S5, in contrast, fares much better, as it will easily withstand a full day of intense use, and under scarcer usage you might even have to recharge it once every 2 days. The battery in the S5 is also user removable. All it takes is to peel off the back cover to access the battery department. That's one feature that the Nexus 5 does not have, as its battery is actually sealed. On the flip side of things, Google's Nexus 5 features wireless charging out of the box via the Qi standard, and that's a convenience that the Galaxy S5 does not have. You need to have a separate case in order for the S5 to support wireless charging. In conclusion, we ought to say that these two are some high-end devices with top-notch performance, fast, and with great cameras, great features all around. However, the Galaxy S5 is unsurprisingly better in almost every aspect. It has the better camera, the slightly faster processor, it has a hugely improved screen, although maybe it's just a notch below traditional LCD displays like the one in the Nexus 5. So all in all, very solid, continuous gradual upgrade. The Nexus 5 on the other hand has price on its side. It's priced at nearly half what the Galaxy S5 costs, and if you're a budget conscious buyer, that's hugely important, of course. If you don't care that much about price, you should get the Galaxy S5. It's really a no-brainer at this point. For a more detailed comparison between the two, go to phonearena.com. Thanks for watching.